guys, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to be doing my September wrap up. I read a lot of really good books this month. I feel like I had a really good reading month, so I'm very excited to go through these and talk about them. I had some rereads, and a few of these books you'll be seeing in an upcoming reading vlog, so I won't talk too much about them just because you'll get my full thoughts in a reading vlog. But yeah, definitely gonna go through every book, give my rating and all of that. Okay, so the first book I read this month is The Pairing by Casey. I don't know if it's McQuiston or McKeeston, but she's the author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, which I loved that book so much. So I was so excited when I saw she was coming out with another book. And I'm gonna be honest, this one did not hit the mark for me. I was so excited about it. The concept sounded really interesting. It's about a second chance romance. Theo and Kit basically broke up 4 years ago, and now they are forced to go on this food and wine tour together. They had bought the tickets when they were still together, and then they broke up, and they had like 4 years to redeem it. And of course, both of them redeemed it at the same time. So now they're forced to be on this European vacation together for like, I think it's 3 weeks. And so I was really excited about that. I was like, forced proximity, second chance romance, like all these things that I love so much. And I was just so bored by this book. So they're on a food and wine tour. And so I get, you know, you're gonna be talking about food and wine and all that stuff, but I swear, like half of the book was descriptions of food or descriptions of wine, which like I get having some of that, but it felt so like unnecessary. It just really honestly takes away from the story. I enjoyed the concept, like I said, and I feel like I would have enjoyed it more, one, if there wasn't so much unnecessary description, because I feel like that really took away from the book and the characters. But I also just didn't connect with the characters themselves. Like I enjoyed the concept, but the characters themselves I just didn't connect with, and I didn't feel like I was rooting for them to be together. So I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. Next up, I read Daydream by Hannah Grace. This is her new book that came out. It is in the Maple Hills series. So you have Icebreaker, Wildfire, and now Daydream. I was so excited about this one because you get bits of Henry in the other two books, and he just is such a sweet character. And I was so excited to learn about his story. Hallie recently broke up with her boyfriend, and she's trying to write a book, a romance book, but she doesn't really have a lot of like romantic experiences or connections. Her boyfriend that she was with was like not great at all. And Henry finds out that she is taken a class by the same professor of the class that he is failing. And so she's like, yeah, I'll help you, like I'll tutor you. And he's like, well, in exchange, I'll help you by giving you romantic experiences. And so they're not necessarily fake dating, but they are kind of giving each other something in this relationship. And of course they start to form a friendship and then feelings and everything. I thought this book was really, really sweet. I really enjoyed both Henry and Hallie's characters. Hallie and Henry, I feel like, are so good together. He is like very much a people pleaser. He gets really overwhelmed in social situations, and the way that they just helped each other out and like were really there for each other, and we're always giving each other advice and trying to be the one person that just understood them, I thought was really sweet. The only reason I gave it a 4-star and not higher is because I did feel like the conflict was kind of rushed at the end, and some of the pacing was a little bit off for me, but otherwise I really enjoyed it. I loved their characters. I thought they were really sweet together, and I loved their communication. Like, communication was so good in this book. I hate when couples just don't communicate, and they were like the best at communicating. Then I read Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. I've been wanting to read a Kristen Hanna book for a very long time. I've had a lot of them on my TBR, and I recently went on a girls trip with a bunch of my friends from college, and I knew this book had a big trope of friendship in it, so I wanted to read this afterwards. I mean, I knew it was gonna make me sad. Like, everyone talks about this book and is like, yeah, it's so sad. Like, I cried. It's such a beautiful story about girlhood and friendship and female friendships, and it did exactly that. It did exactly what I knew it was going to do, but I loved every single moment of this. I gave this book a 5-star. I feel like I'm going to continue to think about this book forever. I feel like as a woman, you can see yourself in this book, whether you see yourself in Tuli or Kate or in both of them. You can also relate to the theme of friendship and, like I said, female friendships and your friendships with other women. Like, it just, there's so much relatability in this book. And even though I didn't grow up in the timeline that these women grew up in, like they were teenagers in the 70s, I still related to so much of this book. I loved how it took you through the decades and how their lives just changed over the years, and I think it is a real testament to how friendships change as you get older and just how circumstances in your life are different. This is about Tuli and Kate, and they meet when they're like 12 or 13, and they instantly become best friends, and then it just follows them over the next 30 plus years of their life and getting married and having kids and jobs and careers and all this sort of stuff. And it's just such a realistic book. I feel like if you would have told me this is a real life story, I would 100% believe you, because this just feels so raw and real. The writing is phenomenal. I definitely want to pick up another Kristen Hanna book after this because I just really loved this one so much. Next up, I read Wild Eyes by Elsie Silver. After reading Wild Love, I was so excited for this one. I have fallen in love with Elsie Silver. Like, she absolutely is one of my favorite authors. I feel like she just knows how to write romance right. Like, her banter, she has the perfect amount of dialogue. The characters are always fun and entertaining. I genuinely laugh out loud when I read her books. Like, I just have a honestly really great time reading her books, and that's all that I can ever ask for in a book. I gave this one 4.75 stars. And I know you're probably like, why didn't you just give it 5 stars? And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. For some reason, I just didn't get that 5-star feeling with it, but I still loved it so much. It was amazing. Like, it was so good. So Skylar is a super famous singer, and she comes to Rose Hill to write an album at Rose Hill Records with Ford from Wild Love. She gets there and she kind of shows up unexpectedly, and Ford is like, we don't have a house ready yet, like the guest houses aren't ready, and she's about to leave, and then he's like, no, you can stay with my best friend. He's a guest house that you can stay at. So she stays there. It's West's house. West is literally the perfect character. Like, I love him so much. He's a single dad. He has 2 kids that he is just in love with, and the way that Skylar just molds into their life and just fits right in is so incredible. She has a lot that she's working through personally, and he is such an amazing person. Like, he never pushes her. He never forces her to do anything she doesn't want to. He listens to her and is just there to help her. And like, even when he has these strong feelings for her, he holds himself back because he's like, I don't think she's emotionally or mentally ready for them. And it's just like, I love his character so much. I love the way that she fits in the Rose Hill, and just immediately kind of, she's very much a city girl, has grown up with money, and now she's like learning how to work on a farm and like do all these things. And there was so much good banter in the story. I truly loved it so much. Elsie Silver, her writing is just like, no one does it like Elsie. Also, I apologize if the lighting changes during this video. The sun is starting to set, so yeah. But anyways, next up I read Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. So this is the second book after The House in the Cerulean Sea that I read earlier this year, and I really loved it. It is very much a cozy fantasy. Honestly, it's perfect to read in the fall time, and the second book just came out, so I knew I wanted to pick it up because I really loved the first book. And the first book more so follows Linus. He works for the Department of Magical Youths, and he's sent to this orphanage with all of these like bad kids basically, or kids that have bad magic. He's sent there to like check things out, but he kind of starts to see a good side to these kids. And the person who runs that orphanage is Arthur. So this second book is more his story. It's in third point of view, but it follows him more, and kind of what he's going through with the government, trying to make people see that magical people aren't bad. So in this world, you have regular humans and then you have people with magic, and those with magic are seen as bad. So he's really trying to work with the government to show them that these kids are not bad. And I did really enjoy it. It's very much a cozy fantasy. Like, this in the fall time is perfect, curling up with the book. I gave this one 4 stars, and I did really like it, but I feel like some of it was a little bit repetitive from the first book. Like, some of the storylines in it were just a little too repetitive, but I did really love being back with those characters and everything. And like I said, just a very cozy book. So definitely would still recommend the series for sure. Okay, and then for my last 3 books, I decided to reread all of Sally Rooney's books. So she has a new book that just came out, and I wanted to reread her books before because, one, I always do a Normal People reread every year, specifically in the fall time, because it is my favorite book of all time, and it is the perfect fall book. And then 2, I hadn't read her other 2 books in a while, so I kind of wanted to read them, refresh my memory. I filmed a reading vlog. It should be coming out in a few days or so, but yeah, so I reread all of her books, and I read them in order of when they were written. So the first one was Conversations with Friends, and I ended up rating this 3 stars. The first time I read it, I rated it 4 stars, and I talk more about my reasoning for changing my rating in the reading vlog. This one is about Frances and Bobby, and they are in their early 20s, and they meet this couple, Melissa and Nick, and they're an older, like, married couple, and it kind of just follows the 4 of them. And I mentioned this a lot in the reading vlog, but Sally Rooney's books are very much character studies. They're not meant to be a plot-driven book. They're more so following characters. I think when I first read this one, I just hadn't read a lot of books, so I didn't have a lot to compare it to, but now looking back, I think I would give it 3 stars. There were definitely some times where I found myself getting bored, and I feel like it's just not a book that I'm gonna often go back and think on. So that's my reasoning for giving it 3 stars. Then I did my reread of Normal People. Like I said, this is a 5-star book. This is one of my favorite books of all time. My goal is to reread it every year and rewatch the TV series every year because it is just my favorite book. This follows Marianne and Connell. They meet in high school, and then it follows them over the next 5 years of their life, their relationship with other people, friends, family, all of that. But the writing of this book is just so beautiful, and the storyline is so beautiful. I know a lot of people have some mixed reviews about it, but I personally love this book. I think it is just the most perfect, heart-wrenching, beautiful, what other adjectives can I come up with, story, and I don't have enough good things to say about it. So did my annual reread of this, and of course gave it 5 stars. And then last, I read Beautiful World, Where Are You? So this one follows 4 characters, Alice, Felix, Eileen, and Simon. And again, it just follows their lives and their stories. Alice is a writer, and she meets Felix on a dating app, and so it kind of follows their relationship with each other. Then you have one of her best friends, Eileen, and Eileen is working in the city. She has this relationship with Simon. They've known each other for a really long time. Their families have known each other, and there's sort of feelings there between them, but he's older than her, and it's kind of on again, off again. He'll be in relationships, whatnot. And it just follows the 4 of them and their lives, and then how also their lives intertwine. What I love so much about this is you get these emails between Eileen and Alice, and there's a lot of social, economic, political commentary. Sally Rooney does a really great job of always adding that in her stories, which I personally really enjoy. And yeah, she just adds a lot of that, and I really loved that part. I also loved the theme of friendship in this book. I gave this one 3.5 stars. I think, again, sometimes I just found myself getting a little bit bored with the writing, but otherwise I still really enjoyed it. So that is all of the books that I read in the month of September. I read 8 books. I love fall reading. It is my favorite time of the year, and it is my favorite season of books. So I'm so excited to continue to read in the fall. I have a lot of fun videos planned coming up, as well as a few reading vlogs, so definitely stay tuned and check those out. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.